Doo-doo-doo-doo. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. New week, new Tuesday, new episode, beginning of the month, May, so almost summer, and all that stuff. And beginning of the May, we are starting. Usually, I'm saying all my guests are special, and they have some good special skills. So I prepared myself. I think these 3 days because we have I would say extended weekend, if I may call it like that. And I was thinking, how should I introduce this lady? So I would like now I will take 1 2 minutes before she introduce herself and do the stuff. So 3 years, 3.5 years ago, when I arrive in Netherlands, I went on a meetup, and basically that was 2022. I don't really remember at the month, but I think it was March, April, something like that. And I met this lady, and she was talking about data from 2022, just for those who they will watch later or who are watching now and all that stuff. So this lady, our special guest star this night, she's working with this data that we are hearing now everywhere, 3.5 years ago already. And she was up to date with all that we are now listening: data lakes, data factory. I must be honest, that was my first time that I heard about data factory, signups, and all that stuff. So tonight we have a special guest, as I said, the queen for data, I'm calling like that, and that's Lisa. Lisa,
Thank,
welcome to the show.
thank you. It's so nice to be here, and thank you for having me, of course.
Yes, you're more than welcome. As I said, I mean, 3 years ago, you teach me a little bit and you throw me, we are calling at my country, we are calling, you throw me a little bit water about this. What is data? What is that big data? And blah, blah, blah. Just after that meetup, which I remember quite good. And basically, I was reading after that just to figure out, hey, what this lady was talking about. Is really this happening? Because in that period, for me, data factory, data lakes, and all that stuff that you're working with these technologies, basically for me was quite unknown, I must be honest with you. And basically I learned a lot that night, if I may call it like that. So thank you about it.
It's an abstract topic, I think, but luckily, it was like an introduction. So I hope it was you were able to follow all the content and maybe get a start on the data side of things for Azure.
Yeah, indeed. And that was the starting indeed. And I'm happy. Yeah, I can say like that. I'm happy that I know you, if I may call like that, like the queen for the data. May
Yeah,
I
of
say like that?
course.
That's, I
Yes.
think, it stays, I think, between your name and surname, you should put in brackets queen data, data queen, or something like that, which it will suit you perfectly, that title, to be completely honest. How are you? Tell me now.
I'm very good. Yes, yes. Very happy to be here. Also a little bit tired. I think you mentioned it as well.
Yeah.
3 days off will always kind of do that to you. You get back into work, you think, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, it always takes some time, but happy to talk tech, I think, for sure.
Indeed, indeed. How is going with the AI, with the data? How is going with the Lisa, if I may call like that, in her daily life, daily work, if I may say like that? Does Lisa is using a lot of AI, a lot of Chat GPT, copilots, this and that, if I may ask like that?
Well, maybe I'm not using AI as much as you would expect. I need to admit, I have beautiful team members that do specialize in data science and they're really, really good at it. And they do
Okay.
everything with creating the LLMs and stuff like that. And we even do like auto translate and transcripts and things. All the beautiful things I cannot tell you about, of course, due to the employer that I have.
Yeah,
And yeah, the secrecy of the customer data that we
yeah,
use,
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
course. But yeah, I do need to admit that my focus here is a little bit less on the AI part because I have such beautiful teammates that specialize into that.
Yeah.
But in that case, I have more time to specialize in, getting the data platform ready and selecting the right tools, as you mentioned, like the course that I gave on Azure Data Factory, on Synapse, and on Databricks, when to use what. And yeah, that's kind of the stuff that I'm doing on a daily basis to make sure that, the data architecture that we have stays lean and mean, so to speak. Yeah, for sure.
I have one question immediately to you. Also, for me, it's quite clear. I think for the people that what I get as a question, I must be honest, in the last 6 months, and I will ask you if you would like to. Basically, what does it mean to when somebody says big data? For example, does big data means my pictures on my phone, if I may call it like that? Let's see. I have a lot of pictures, if I may say like that, more than 10,000 pictures. Does that mean a lot of
Oh my
data?
gosh.
Yeah, so yeah, when you have a three kids, that's how it works, by the way,
Yeah.
and all that stuff. So you have a synchronization to this, or does it mean a big data also if I have another phone with just 100 pictures? What it means big data? Why there? For example, we are seeing everywhere, yeah, big data this, big data that, but there is LLMs, which also people knows that, for example, LLM where it have a lot of data, so that's also big data.
Yeah, for
or
sure. Yeah.
or yeah, so I'm just on a, if you need to explain to somebody without any tech education, how would you say? That's why I said the phone with the pictures, if I may say like that. How would
Yeah.
you say what is big data for a person that don't have a clue about, if I may call it like that?
It is really, really difficult to say because, yeah, the concept of big data, people often are talking about it, and you think, what do you mean? And
Yeah,
in reality, I don't think there's like a clear cut definition of what big data is, and when is it too big, or it's a
too
little.
small.
And it's not, every now and then I have a call with one of our
Yeah,
customers, and they would say, "Well, Lisa, yeah, we have a really really big data set, and everything will be extremely complicated." And then you think, "Okay, how many records is it?" And then they're like, "Yeah, 10,000 per day." And you think, "Okay, maybe that's not so big." So for me, the definition that I try to take, I think,
yeah,
when I started off my career, I started off as an economist, and I made, you know, models for the Dutch housing market, so for
yeah.
price and for sales. But all of these modelings I would do on my own computer with the data that
Okay,
I had saved in maybe Excel, or if I wanted to go fancy, like CSV or something like
yeah,
that. And then after some time, I did a project with somebody from the data warehouse, and I thought that was really, really cool because they wanted to start like a data lake team, and those
okay.
people would be the experts. So I thought, okay, I need to join that team. And at that point in time, I kind of started to figure out that the analysis that we were doing, I could not do on my local machine. And I think when you have a data set that's like that you think, okay, I cannot put it in Excel anymore. I really need to think about, how am I going to process that data? What technologies do I need to use? I think then you're getting into the realm of big data. But for me personally, when we're speaking about data sets that you can easily save on Excel and edit it, is it really big data? Probably not. Yeah. So that's kind of the
Okay.
distinction that I would use here. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So quite, if I may say, quite a complex data. Let's call it like that. Complex with a lot of fields. I suppose also a lot of, how it's called that, not dependencies, but a lot of additional rows, if I may say like that. How one number is calculated, something like a background of SQL, if I may say like that.
Yeah,
Maybe.
you could say it like that. You also have like nested data, so in structs or in arrays, and then
Yeah.
it becomes very complex to understand, and yeah, stuff like that.
True. Okay. Okay. So, long story short, big data is something that cannot be executed with Excel and all that stuff. So it's quite complicated, complex, not complicated. Yeah, it's complicated. That's for Lisa. That's how the Lisa works. It's complicated for done with the data, but for the normal, if I may say like that, so that means that the 10,000 pictures in the phone and all the stuff is not so complex because we can see easily, click photos and just scroll down and you see what is happening in all the pictures, or something more complicated where you have also, I would say, yeah, how I should, I'm just thinking loud with you to help on this definition. Yeah, something like, I would say, some database, for example, when you go to take a mortgage. So you have your name, surname, you have the history of you, you have where do you live and all the stuff. So I suppose in the background that's connected to a lot of other databases and sets, let's call it like that. Either it's a private data, name, surname, ID number, passport number, and all that stuff, driving license. So those are also different fields, I would say, rows in that set, which makes for one person to have the whole data. But if you have 10,000 people, then you have a lot of data extended, if I may call it like that. So it's quite
Yeah,
complicated.
you have different types of modeling in databases, of course, which can be very convenient. But I think it's good to remind ourselves that these kind of way of modeling that they use, maybe we're using data vault or things like that, they're created also in a sense so that we can enable ourselves not to store too much data as well. So these kind of things kind of, I need to make sure that I'm not saying silly things here, but they kind of come from the era where data storage was very, very expensive. So they would
Yes.
really need to take into account, like, how are we going to model that data so that we can store it efficiently? And nowadays, more or less, when we talk about data lakes and data storage becomes much, much cheaper than it used to be. So now we can store massive amounts of data at just like a cheap price. I looked it up not too long ago. I think storing 1 gigabyte of data on Azure Data Lake Storage is like 3 cents per month or something like that. So, that's peanuts compared to what it used to be. So for me, the definition of big data should probably be about the size.
Yeah.
So if you want to say a number, let's say a million rows, something like that, then it's becoming quite significant.
True. And I just want to connect to you. I remember also 2016, 17. I was working in one Switzerland company, and we need to transfer easily from the cloud database and all that stuff. And I remember the storage account 2016, 17, 1 gigabyte, if I'm not correct now, tera or giga, I'm not sure about that, but it was around 50, 40 something, 40 euros, if I may
Oh my
call it
god.
like that.
Yeah.
Yes. And then in 2021, 2, it became 10 euros for 5 terabytes.
Wow.
So it was quite a big difference in the price, but also on the amount of the space that you will get in the cloud and all that stuff. And I think it's also, I'm usually starting, to be completely honest with you, with the private stuff that we're using. For example, if you take OneDrive, Google Drive,
Mhm.
how much was expensive in the past if you want to back up your photos in the cloud, and how
Yeah,
cheap is now. I think today, I think Google charged me for the 200 gigabytes or something, €2, $2, something like that, which
it's
is really
crazy.
not even a coffee, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah. So compared to how it used to be, that advancement, that's just mind-boggling to be honest. Yeah. Yeah.
Indeed. And in the past was, I don't know if you remember, but there was external hard drives, which were quite expensive, 300, 500 euros for 1 terabyte in that period, if I remember good, which was quite. Western Digital, I remember, that was quite famous, and everyone have been using and all that stuff. So it's changed a lot. And on the data field, it's changed quite a lot. And I think also, does that, my question to you is, does looking into the future for yourself as an
Mhm.
ex-economics, I will ask later, how did you came to idea to start, or what was the idea to start in the economic field, if I may call it like that? I will start that after this question. But first, looking on this, when you started, did you have something like a idea, vision, if I may call it that? Yeah, this with the data is becoming complex. Excel's is not working, because I suppose in the economics, mostly in the past, was Excel the main tool that you're using, if I remember correct, or most of the time.
Mhm.
Did you have some future sense, if I may call like that. If I may say or ask you like that, that this with the data, so I would like to switch from economics, I would go to the IT and I will explore this data field, or it was something else. I'm just curious.
It was never my plan, to be
Okay.
honest, because um, when I was studying, you need to imagine studying data science wasn't a thing. So I could have studied econometrics, but in the end, I opted for economics instead.
Okay.
And programming was something that, yeah, to be frank, that boys did that really like to play video games. And my ex studied for programming, and he did Java, and that was all super super technical. And I never thought, oh, that this would be something that was for me. Not that
Yeah.
I would say that I'm programming Java right now, which I'm absolutely not, and not sure if you should want to
Yeah.
do it, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just to give you a clue from where this question is coming, my first, when I started working, I was working some type of IT support, the basic one, reinstalling computers, all the stuff. I was working on a big insurance company. And usually, because I was youngest in the team, in Saturday, when the server will get stuck, they will call me. I certainly remember it was a landline in that period, not even a mobile, if I may call 2010, if I remember good. And they, hey, Martin, how are you? And you wake up 12 in the afternoon, basically, because in Friday night you get stuck somewhere and all that stuff. Can
Stuff
you go to the office to restart the server? I can't connect remotely. This is manager calling me. Or some other weekend is coming. The CTO was exporting some database and the SQL gets stuck, basically. Can you go at the office? You're the youngest, yeah, the travel expense, it can be refunded and all that stuff. It's okay. You don't need to worry. And I must be honest, after a year and a half, not every weekend, let's say once per month, which is quite
Mhm.
annoying, I was thinking, does this mean that in 20 years from now, when I will have a family and all the stuff, does that mean that somebody will call me, hey, Martin, can you go to restart the server? Imagining myself 50 years old, if I may call like that, and with the car going in the server room, restart the server, go back at home. And to be honest, my first laugh when I started with the cloud and all the stuff, I'm always think was Azure Arc, because Azure Arc can connect the on-prem with the cloud. So you
Mm.
can do all the stuff instead of going to the office and then push the button, if I may call it like that. So that's why I asked you the question, if I may be honest. So
Mm.
from economics to that and the data, I was thinking maybe Lisa was, wanted something and all the stuff with the data science to achieve, and so on and so on. From where is the wish for economics now?
Yeah, so to be honest, I was pretty young when I started studying. Of course, in the Netherlands, when you go to university, you're 18, and
Okay.
the reason that I picked economics to start was just because I had good grades in economics, and everybody would
Okay.
always say, "Yeah, economics is such a difficult subject," and I was pretty okay at it. So I thought, okay,
Okay.
this must be something that I'm good at, so I will study that. And then I noticed that I really liked finance, so that's what I specialized in. But when I went for my master's degree, I was pretty young still, so I think I was
Okay.
maybe 20, 21. So I thought, okay, I want to take a little bit more time for my master's degree,
Okay.
so I did two specializations, and the only one where I could do that was to take finance and real estate finance. So that's what I studied. I studied real estate finance because that was what was available at the time.
Yeah.
And I did really enjoy it. And I was lucky that I could do my thesis at my current employer at the Rabobank. And I could do my thesis on modeling those housing prices and the amount of sales in the Netherlands, which was very interesting. But that also meant I needed to have a little bit more of econometric knowledge, so modeling and econometrics. Really, the basics looks like what data scientists use. So that's how I kind of progressed into it and started using data more. And then I kind of found out that, I am actually quite a technical person. So I like learning Python and I like learning Scala and things like that. And later on, of course, when we went to the cloud, because at first we weren't in the cloud, obviously,
Yeah.
I kind of noticed that I like learning technical things. So I specialized more on the data platform side of things, thinking about security, thinking about the tools, thinking about, okay, how do you process data in an efficient manner so that, the computers can take care of it well? And how do you
Yeah.
do that and make it beautiful and stuff like that? And yeah, that's all a happy accident, I think.
Yeah, that's nice. And before, because usually when I hear, for example, also I know from my at-home experience, if I may say like that, my
Mhm.
wife have you, if I may say, yeah, my wife finished something similar on your education. Does that mean that for economics, for example, yeah, asking specifically for Netherlands, you're good at math, for example, you need to be so you can go to economics, or that doesn't matter?
Not necessarily, but they do have some
Okay.
pretty hefty mathematics courses and econometrics
Yeah.
courses, and they do tend to weed out a lot of the students in the first year. That I do need to
Okay.
say.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, so if you have the Dutch math A, so
Yeah.
like easier maths, then for sure, yeah, you can still study economics here.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. That's nice. And after the economics, and after Lisa finish everything and goes to the master, if I may call it like that,
Hmm.
how is becoming all of this with the big data? Why I'm asking all of this? Because I'm a economics, real estate. I'm just trying to connect the dots, not complaining to you, by the way.
Mm,
So economics, real estate, then master, and then two specializations. And now I'm just thinking cloud, Azure Data Engineer, big data. How from where that it looks to me like a surprise, ba-bam, and all that stuff. From where this is coming from, if I may say like that, how everything is connecting. I want to connect the dots.
mm,
If I may be honest with you, for example, for Azure Data Engineer and all the stuff, if I may call like that, let's be honest, you need to have some knowledge in the cloud, a little bit technical, and you have that technical, if I may call like that. So I'm just trying to get to the point how Lisa just really went to the big data analysis. Yeah, the economics is giving you, but I think it's a little bit relevant in my view. I think it's more something else influenced you, if I may call it like that, or I'm wrong.
well, the thing is, do you watch Bob Ross sometimes? The painter with the
Yeah, yeah,
curly
okay,
hair,
yeah, with the yeah, yeah, indeed.
and he always talks about the happy mistakes, the happy, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I get it.
um, it's like that. So I never intended to. Well, I never intended to become an economist in the first place because I
Okay,
did the finance and the real estate finance. So it would have been more logical for me to become like an analyst or to manage portfolios and stuff like that. So the
okay,
first mistake I
yeah,
made was to become an economist and to do the research on the Dutch housing market, which was also already strange. And then I
okay,
just noticed that I really liked working with data. And so I started learning a little bit of Python and, the neural networks and stuff like that and seeing how that worked. And I thought it was very interesting. And then by accident, I met somebody and she was really, really kind to me. And she gave me the opportunity to work for that new shiny data lake team they were setting up. And I could kind of help with the testing of the data applications there. And then I started to learn Scala and things like that. And before I knew it, I was there. So it was 100% pleasure, so to speak. I was just really curious on how to do it,
nice.
and then I just did it. Yeah.
Indeed, that's nice. That's really, I think, I would say it's quite nice because it's a big switch. And I'm always now, this is not how to say Martin being nice, I'm saying like that, but Martin being honest. kudos. I would give you a big kudos, Lisa, because I know a couple of people, and I'm always, even when I saw them in person, for example, I want to give them a small applause, because it's a big step. Let's be honest. You finish your high school, do this, do that, and then you just turn around 360 degrees, if I may call like that, where you just turn around and say, yeah, I would like to go now to something else. Yeah, and I I know that you have some challenges, or you faced with a couple of challenges, I would say, to get to this big data analysis, developing, creating the data sets and all that stuff, because let's be honest, it requires a lot of effort. And
Yep.
that's why I'm saying kudos, Lisa. Very good job, I must be honest. That's why I was trying to connect the dots, because usually, people are just saying, I switch roles, I do this, I do that. But then your connection for me was confusing, I must be honest. And that's why I was keep asking questions. I know I'm boring sometimes with this, but that's just trying, to connect the dots and to give a kudos, to be honest with you. So you have done a great job.
Thank you. Yeah, I can imagine if you weren't there, it's pretty confusing, and I suppose it is. I'm just a person, I like to follow my curiosity. So you never know. Maybe in 2 or 3 years we'll meet again, and I'll do something totally different.
Indeed, indeed, that's nice to hear. I mean, really nice, and all that stuff. And when you started with the big data, or before you get to this, after you start working on the big data, what is the biggest challenge for you, if I may ask like that? Did you have any big challenge, let's say it like that? Because now we have the cloud, we have this, you need to connect somewhere something and all that stuff. So, for example, as a MCT on the trainings, when the people were
Mhm.
coming, a little bit, yeah, quite older than us, yeah, Martin, iron is iron. Yeah, I said, okay, iron is iron, but there is a cloud. You connect there with 2 clicks, sign in, and then you start working. Yeah, but this, and they will start complaining. So I'm just saying, did you have any type of these challenges, if I may call it like that? Not iron with iron, but something like some other challenges, maybe.
Yeah. So more challenges that most companies have when implementing data solutions, you mean?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I think a mistake, or maybe two mistakes that I see people often make is, especially when they start picking their data tools, it is, every now and then you find somebody, and I always try to say it a little bit, kindly.
Yeah.
They look at the architecture websites, and then they look for the implementations, and you find beautiful things on the Microsoft website. But sometimes when it comes to architecture, the solutions that they give you are very, very broad. So every now and then somebody comes to me and they're like, Lisa, we want a data solution. And then I ask, okay, what do you want? Do you want Cosmos? Do you want Data Lake? Do you want Databricks? Do you want Synapse? Maybe Fabric? Who knows? And then they show me a picture and it's everything. They just want to have everything. And it's an easy mistake to make, right? Because,
Yeah.
yeah, you're new and you see all of these tools and you think to yourself, well, there's one tool per use case. It must have been designed like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for streaming, maybe I will do streaming analytics. And then for ingestion, maybe I will do Azure Data Factory. And then for processing, maybe I will do Databricks. And then all of a sudden, you start to realize after implementation, oh, shoot, these tools have multiple use cases that they can serve. And so every now and then you have somebody left off with an architecture that's very, very big.
Yeah.
And you don't really need it. And you need to maintain such architecture, and you also need to pay for it, obviously. So that
Yeah.
can become pretty expensive. So these are the things that I like to take care of as a data engineer. Yeah.
That's nice. That's nice. And now it came to my mind to ask, maybe now you need to do a good analysis on the Dutch housing market, by the way. It came, just put it as a side note, as a side project, if I may say like that. So I think you need to do some big analysis, especially this period, which we are aware what is happening and how everything is going, I would say. So it's I need somebody good like you. I think it need to do a really good analysis to see how that it goes and where it goes, if I may say like that, because it's
Well,
going somewhere in the unlimited zone somewhere, if I may call it like that, which is quite crazy.
well,
Uh,
we just bought a house this month, so if you ask
nice,
me, of course,
congratulations.
house prices are going to go up. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. So for those who are planning to buy a house, be aware. It's getting more and more expensive, just for information. So let's see. Oh, nice. Uh, you started as a big data, and now just looking on my left screen, to be honest, you're
Hmm.
after 5 years working as a big data analyst and all that stuff. You started as a Azure data engineer, and yeah, that I was valid why I was mentioning AI, Lisa. Practice lead data and AI, Azure data engineer.
Yeah.
So you was working even at AI 21 and 22.
Yeah, it was more the department that I was in, to be frank, that also did the AI. And of course, the team that I work in now, we have amazing data scientists and they're very, very capable. Yeah. But do I create those models on a daily nowadays? No, not anymore. No.
Yeah. You're not curious from time to time?
Every now and then, of course, we are curious, and I ask a teammate, "Hey, can we, switch jobs a little bit?" Because I'm very lucky that we have a big team with many
Yeah.
specialties. So we have BI specialists and data scientists and data analysts as well. So that's really, really cool. We even have a cloud engineer. So if I really want to
Oh,
go
nice.
into bicep and stuff like that, every now and then,
I
I
will
am
ping the
allowed.
guy next to me. Come. That's always nice to have the
Yeah.
body next or around you, if I may call it like that, where you can ping them and ask the questions.
Oh
Nice.
yeah. Yeah.
Uh, uh, all said that, if I may call it that, with the AI, with the data, especially with the data and the economics, uh, may I ask what was your first game and the first touch with the computer?
Oh, that's a very good question. Um, phew, my first game. I think
Yes.
I remember my parents. They got a computer when I was maybe 8 years old or something like that, and they had all of
Mhm.
these because if you wanted to dial into the internet, my mom
Yeah.
couldn't do the phone calls and stuff like that. So every now and then we're on the computer, but even if we were allowed to use the internet, it was maybe only 10 minutes to half an hour or
Yeah.
something like that. But you did have those games that were there by default, and I think one of those was like the pinball game and
Yeah.
the card game, and we would play those a lot.
Solitaire, I think it, yes, Solitaire.
Yes,
It was,
yeah,
yeah,
something
something
like
like
that,
that.
and the pinball game with the space theme, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah.
so we would play that. My brother and I would play that for a long time when my mom was on the phone and we weren't allowed to use the internet. But after that, when I was in high school, I used to play a lot of RuneScape. I need to say,
Wow.
I was really, really serious with that, and I love to play that.
Ooh, nice. What it stopped?
Yeah,
Why did you stop? If I may say like that.
yeah, I got older, and all the people went into World of
Come on.
Warcraft and stuff like that, and I never really caught up. So it just
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. For me, was the same. I must be honest with you, but I switch completely. So what I do, for example, is not that I started. I must be honest. World of Warcraft and then
Mm,
World of Warcraft. I started those, but then I saw, as you said, it's not the same. What I know and what I would like to play. So what I get stuck, I even now, for example, and I was counting, I have the CDs in my other room. From 1998, I'm trying every year all the FIFA. So, for example,
oh,
every new year when the new FIFA will pop up, I will buy the FIFA. I will play one season, with my favorite club. Then some player, 2 3 weeks. Martin is playing FIFA, goal, this that. That's it. But that's it. Simple as that. Just one game because of curiosity. What is improved? Does the character of the footballer it look
Yeah.
like? How it look like? The club, the fans, the stadiums, and all that stuff. So maybe as a tip, when you would like to play, instead of get stuck, every day just to play. Maybe just one game and just to relax 1 2 weeks, if I may call like that. I think here, what I like it, especially in this country, I'm often saying the production freezing. I really like that. To be honest, that's before Easter, and
Mhm.
basically these 2 3 weeks, it's quite nice for this type of moves, if I may call like that. So
More
buy a
relaxing.
game, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. Just chill and all that stuff and play some game. I remember a couple of years ago, I bought Far Cry from a friend of
Mm.
mine recommended to me. Mate, it's really nice. You go on island, you travel, this and that, and I even installed on my normal computer, and basically it is quite nice. Sometimes not every day. I fully agree with all the things that we need to do during our day and all that stuff. So, but once in a year, it's a quite nice experience. I must be honest with you,
Yeah, I agree.
and I
We
would highly recommend.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. True, true. Recently finished Split Fiction, so that's very
Oh,
nice if you want to play it with two people.
oh, that's nice. Yeah, now we are playing usually with the daughter, so we are changing the Super Mario Kart, if I may call it that. Uh, round one with the one daughter, then round two with the other daughter, and then after 8 p.m., 9 p.m., I can stay, if I may say like that, and play if I want something. But somehow I'm waiting, to be honest. The Sony, I saw somewhere it will pop up the same like the Nintendo, so it
Hmm.
will be smaller version. So you can put in the backpack and in the tram, in the train, and then go home, be happy, just to change a little bit and chill, if I may call it like that.
Sounds pretty
So yeah,
nice, huh? Yeah.
indeed, indeed, indeed. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm just waiting to see when it will be published. I'm not sure. I saw a couple of months ago that there will be the same like the Nintendo look like. So it will
Hmm.
have also Sony. So Sony
Oh,
PlayStation like
yeah,
that. And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I suppose Nintendo
Exciting.
does not have all the games. So Sony have all these, how it's called, I don't know, the license and all the stuff for the FIFA, the sport games for me, if I may call it
Yeah.
like that. So it will be quite interesting if I may say like that.
Oh, but I love the Nintendo games like the Mario Party and
Yeah.
the Super Smash. I used to be
Yeah,
really
yeah.
good with Kirby on Super Smash.
Yeah,
Every now and then I beat my colleagues, and they
yeah,
don't know
yeah.
it's me. It's very funny. Yeah, yeah.
Nice. I really like, and why I'm asking this with the games, usually, to be completely honest with you, because I think you working every day, me working, or all others working a lot during the day. So I think some type of this small switch, something here, it
Mm,
really relax a little bit, if I may call it that,
for
and all the
sure.
stuff, which is quite. That's why asking people what is your first game and all that stuff, and what did you do, and just to switch a little bit, because I think during the day, either it's social networks, either it's a work, either gym or running. I agree, that's one activity, but I think we need something else, maybe just to relax your mind and just chill and do the stuff. So that's why I was curious. But the solitaire and the pinball, I remember, and that was really a nice games. Tick, tick,
Yeah,
tick, tick, on the keyboard, and then you and all that stuff. So points, I think, if you hit the top one, you will get more points and all that stuff. Wow, that was a nice
yeah.
experience, I must be honest.
Hours and
Indeed,
hours. It's nostalgia.
indeed. And now we have one stage, second stage, online games, and all that stuff, and we still cannot figure it out. What is our game? What should we play, and all that stuff. So it's becoming more and more. I mean, the games are quite nice. I mean, the design it's quite nice and all the stuff. But how we have more choice, it becomes more complicated to choose which one to play, if I may call it like that.
Yeah, it's the same with movies, right? We have Prime, we have Netflix, we have HBO, and you're just sitting there at night and you think, oh, what am I going to watch? And you have all these movies, and then it's more difficult. Yeah.
Indeed, a couple of days ago, I was renewing. That's a funny. We were laughing with my wife. I must be honest. In I renewed the subscription, and the guy is coming to me. Hey, we offer. You can choose 1 year subscription, Amazon Prime, via Play, Netflix, or some other. And we look each other, and I said, "What should we choose?" Yeah, Martin, we have Netflix. I don't know, Amazon Prime. What is that now via Play? From where this come from? And then we start asking. We got confused basically, and we need just to say, yeah, we like that one, but we didn't choose anything. I said to the guy, we will come back later because it's really complicated. Yeah, but it's quite complicated when it comes to that topic also, and I think also with all the stuff, you are so many things to take your time. I'm calling like that.
Yeah, we're lucky in a way, but also the options, yeah, can be stressful, but it's a first world problem for sure.
After what we will eat today, after that question, then this is the second problem, I would say. Indeed. If I may ask, how is going with all the data at this moment for you? How do you see on the big data on the growing or in the future side, if I may call it like that, Lisa? How do you see on all that perspective? I know it's a complex question because everything is changing every day. I mean, not really every day for you, but for example, I think in this field, it's also, I can count fabric because
Mhm.
in games and fabric now I see it takes a really big wave, if I may call it like that. And I mean, it's a big service, big tool, yeah, big service, if I may call it like that, which contains so many things in the background. So maybe next year will be, I don't know, Fabric version 3 or something, maybe, I don't know. But how do you see in everything, if I may call it that, how it will go? What is your expectation, if I may call it like that, based on everything that you have seen in the last couple of years?
It's always really difficult to say. I mean, as an economist by nature, I should know
Yeah.
not to speculate about stuff that is difficult to speculate about. I often hear people say, AI is going to take over. All of the engineers will be out of a job because AI is going to do
Yeah.
everything. And there's also a lot of people that are saying, no, it's not going to happen, or that's never going to happen because they don't see AI getting, that smart, or at least, I mean, it's not there yet. Let's be honest, at this point, at least.
True.
For me, I try to shy away from giving too many estimations in that regard. I always like to think about, when we were young and trying our first games,
Yeah.
being a data engineer, or being big data wasn't really a thing back then, let alone
Yeah.
that I thought I will be programming Python, or I will be working on the Azure clouds. All of these things w- weren't really a thing at that moment
Yeah.
in my life. And I think, when you even look back to estimations before that, so this is maybe a wild comparison, but very, very long ago, I don't know when, but when they still had horses and,
Okay.
on the streets, and they were getting more and more carriages. And so the horses would poop and it would be on the streets.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
the economists would estimate and they would say, well, if we don't do anything, then after 50 years, the amount of poop on the streets is going to be, let's say, 2 meters high, something
Yeah.
outrageous. And then
Yeah.
after a few years, cars came.
Yeah.
So after some point, nobody was using horses, and I think it will be the same with our work. So now we will think, oh, AI is going to take over, and it's going to take all of our jobs, and maybe everybody will be unemployed, and AI
Yeah.
will, hopefully, it will be benevolent, and things like that. But I think, yeah, if I compare the start of my life, could I ever have imagined what I was going to do today?
Okay.
For sure, no. So, and I think 10 years from now, I also, asking today, looking forward, I would also not be able to imagine what I would be doing in 10 years. But that
Yeah.
was what makes our job beautiful, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Surprises everywhere, indeed.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, but I was thinking, on what you're experiencing now, if I may call like that, and how the things are growing on the big data. Obviously, it's getting big and bigger. Sorry. Uh, for example, in the next 3-4 years, do you expect some agents for big data? Do you expect this type of a things? I was thinking as improvement, or is there a way for improvement in this field, if I may say like that?
What do you mean by agents in this regard?
Yeah, AI agent, for example, for the
Oh,
fabric, for the, I don't know, for the data factory, for the data lake, for the synapse, for this, for that, for example, something like that. Or is there something that you expect as an improvement in the future? For example, yeah, Martin, now we are working with this. It's quite not good. We are expecting that it will be improved in the next couple of years, maybe with AI, and all that stuff.
yeah. Yeah, I get what you mean. Of course, as an MVP, I always need to be, a bit
Yeah,
careful
yeah,
about what we say and things like
yeah,
that.
yeah, true, true, true.
Oh, one of the things that I use a lot of Databricks for my
Okay.
work, which is maybe a little bit different than some of the other MVPs and engineers
Yeah,
do. And one of the things that I really liked about Databricks is that they started to integrate AI as well in the platform. And the thing there is that when you make a mistake coding, the AI will try and solve it, but you can also talk to the AI and you can ask it questions and stuff like that. And I do notice that it's not so good yet, you know? So
okay, yeah,
9 out of 10 times the AI gives a suggestion and you think, no, that's not really it. You still need
yeah,
to look it up yourself. And I do hope that they, make some progressions there and really make that more beautiful. And I do hope that they don't make it too beautiful because then maybe I will be out of a job. You never know. But I do see that AI is already making my job a lot easier when I need to do analysis and I know exactly what I want. I can just ask it, hey, can you create this small script for me? I just need to check these dates, and it will fill everything in.
yeah.
And then a job that would normally before cost me 4 hours, maybe now, I can do it in an hour or so, which is amazing stuff.
Indeed.
So something like that would be nice. I'm not so picky or needy, so that's I think would be nice. Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay. That's nice to hear. Indeed, Databricks, to be honest with you, I think a couple of months ago, I think it was, yeah, I think it was 6, 7 months ago. It was in the Johan Cruyff Arena. There was a conference about Databricks, and I was there, and I saw they shared
I
the
was
AI
there
integ.
too. I
Oh,
didn't
shame on you!
see you.
Shame on you! I even made the joke. Yeah, you went on a stadium and you see a conference, not a football match. If I may say like that, that was the funny thing. But I think they presented that period, and there was a technical workshops onto the Databricks with the AI thing,
Mhm.
and now everything in there and everything integrated. Do you, if I may ask, do you see that Databricks will be? Yeah, it's a tricky question, but do you expect the Databricks will be not better, but is the Databricks better than the data lake or the data factory or anything? Or what makes Databricks so unique, if I may ask like that? In your experience, of course.
Well, maybe I'm a bit biased here because I started using Databricks when I started using the cloud. So I have
Okay.
much more experience using Databricks than Synapse, for example. And of course, Fabric hasn't been out for so long, so it hasn't been
Yeah.
with us for so long. I think Azure Data Factory is the easiest one to set aside because the graphical user interface of Azure Data Factory, of course, it's also integrated in Fabric and integrated in Synapse, but that's extremely convenient, especially for BI specialists or people that are not used to coding so much. So
Okay.
for the customers that don't have that much experience in coding, but they do
Okay.
would like to have a data solution off the ground in, not a substantial amount of time, I would always say go for Azure Data Factory. Don't go for Databricks or something like that. Because, well, in that case, you will be up and running much, much more quicker. And if you want to deploy Databricks, you need to think about many more things than compared to Azure Data Factory. But the thing that I love about Databricks is that Databricks is founded by the people who created Spark. So
True.
Spark is the way that our data processes are calculated, right? So all of the new Spark things tend to come out in Databricks first. So if I want to use that, I should be on Databricks, right?
Bricks. Yeah.
And a lot of the developments also on Delta, you get that in Databricks pretty quickly. And in that regard, I do see that our processes on average tend to be
Uh,
computed a bit more effectively on Databricks compared to Synapse, for example. But it's always case by case basis, etc., etc.
True.
But yeah, that's why I really love to use Databricks, because you get the shiniest things first.
Indeed, and I mean, I understand also everything when it comes to this data and which service should we use, and that's why, to be completely honest, when we started, I asked it, how would you explain that? Because the people, whenever whoever comes to ask me, or yeah, I'm hearing a lot of questions. Yeah, that's the same thing. Big data, Synapse, Databricks, data. That's the same. It's the same.
Mhm.
You can use anything, and it's quite not professional, but sometimes it's frustrating a little bit for myself, because you are aware that is not the same, and now is it the right moment to step in there? And then I said I would usually 2 weeks ago it happened, by the way. That's why I remember quite and I said to the guy, I would not say like that, because it's a quite, no, it's not the same. You cannot say that's the same if I say to you, if my car is electric and your it's on petrol, and I say those are the same cars. It's a car. I need to go from point A to point B. It's a car at the end of the day. In the electric, you can put 5 people. In the petrol car, you can put 5 people. Correct? Yeah. But it's not like that. And that's why 2 weeks ago, I just said, yeah, maybe you should take a look and just make a definition for you, just to see that it's a quite different. What should you use, if I may call it like that, and all that stuff. So that's why I ask also the question on the beginning, and now, to be honest, Lisa, about the data, the big data, and
Mhm.
all that stuff. Because usually around you also, around me, we are listening, hearing a lot of weird questions, if I may call it like that, when it comes to the data. And I fully agree on what you said. Couple of years ago, you was not even, and I was not also, I think nobody was aware that it will come to a point where we will talk about, yeah, Martin, Lisa is working big data, and she's working Databricks, data lake, synapse, this, that, and all that stuff, which is changing roles and changing the things quite fast, if I may say like that.
Yeah, I never thought, for some data sets we have billions of records coming in per day, and we're
Billion,
process. Yes,
billion,
yeah, we
billion.
process it in an hour. It's crazy. You
Indeed.
you can never imagine. I could have never imagined that when I was young, that I would be doing that when I was, this age. So
Imagine Excel with billion.
yeah, sure. We can say, okay, that's big data, because that wouldn't fit in Excel.
There is not enough rows and the columns, basically, so it cannot fit there.
No, no.
Indeed. Such a crazy stuff. Uh, that's a nice thing. What I would like to ask, yeah, what was the last book that Lisa read about?
Oof, that's a good question.
Non-technical, please. non-technical, please.
The thing is, I have friends and they read books and they're capable to remember all of the details and
Yeah,
how the
yeah, yeah.
story went, and I'm more of a bigger picture kind of person. I think it might have to do with the ADHD as well, as I tend to think in pictures and in the
Yeah,
bigger, you know uh, just not the details but just the big lines, let's
yeah,
say.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And oof, wow, I don't even remember what it was called.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
No, I
okay,
don't
we will see.
remember.
Yeah, yeah. So you need to take some book to read, Lisa, just to switch a little bit, if I may say like that. Big data, it's enough. Now I think it's a little bit rest, maybe for some book and all that stuff.
I always like to read the fantasy books, so if if the listeners have any good recommendations, I'm always up
Yeah.
for it. Yeah.
That's nice, indeed. What is the how to say? What's the coming here for Lisa? What's the challenging, and what is the something new that Lisa is planning to learn?
Well, what's coming up? Something on the work side of things for me for sure
Yeah,
is, well, June is coming up, and we are in May, so it's conference
yeah,
season. So I'll be speaking at Data Point Prague at the end of
yeah.
May, and then afterwards I'll be traveling to Denmark to speak at Data Platform Next Step, which is also really, really
Nice.
great. So things that I'm really looking forward to. And then in June, we hope to get, the keys to our new house, but it
Yeah,
needs a lot of renovations, the house. So on the more personal notes, I think we will be speaking to a lot of contractors and trying to get the house ready so that we
nice.
can maybe move in the next 6 months or so. So we'll see about that.
Before October, I would do this. To be honest, I'm usually saying before October because then October it's coming the rain. I don't know
Yeah.
if you know there is a rain, wind. Just to let you know, be aware. So I hope, to be honest, yeah, congratulations to the house one more time, Lisa, and I hope that very soon you will get there and all this stuff. And yeah, I don't know. I would like to thank you a lot that you find it a time just as an info. So as Lisa mentioned, I mean, for those who will watch later also, just to be aware that when you buy a house, it's a quite complex, may I say like that? Not
Yes.
complicated, but quite complex
Yes.
here. And basically, Lisa found that nearly a 1 hour to join on this podcast, which I really appreciate. And the first thing I think when I see Lisa, we will drink coffee. I will buy a coffee, sorry, not you. So I will buy a coffee for Lisa as a thankful, if I may say like that. So, Lisa, thank you a lot from top of my heart, if I may call it like that. I wish best of luck for the
Thank you for having
renovation
me.
and everything to finish as needed, everything. I hope. And I hope we will see each other soon. And you will travel a lot. So I would say enjoy in the next couple of months and all that stuff. So thank you a lot.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a blast. It was great. And I'm sure all of the traveling will go well. And we'll meet again soon.
Indeed, indeed. We will see each other for sure. And yeah, thanks for all that they will watch this video. And we are wishing you a nice evening. See you next week. Bye
Take
bye.
care.
Bye.